The zip ties cut into Caleb Reyes's wrists as 3 deputies stood between him and the front gate of the only home he had left. Behind him, a black SUV idled with its lights flashing, and standing beside it was Vivian Cross, president of the Falcon Ridge Homeowners Association, pointing at him like he was something dangerous instead of a 36-year-old former Army combat engineer standing in his own driveway. He forced his way through a restricted easement. She told the responding officer, "We have documentation." Caleb didn't raise his voice. He had learned a long time ago, in places far more dangerous than a gated Texas subdivision, that raising your voice never won you anything. "This land belonged to my grandfather," he said quietly. Before this neighborhood existed, Vivian smiled, small and satisfied, the smile of someone who had done this before and won every time. She had no idea that in the back of Caleb's truck sat a fireproof lockbox his late Uncle Dale had left him. One Dale had specifically told him, months before he passed, not to open unless they ever came for the ranch road. They had just come for ranch road. Before this goes any further, I want to ask you something. Have you ever watched someone try to bully their way into taking something that was never theirs, and had to sit there wondering if the truth would actually matter? Tell me in the comments. And if stories about ordinary people quietly holding the line against people who think a title or a badge gives them the final word means something to you, stay with me and consider subscribing. These are the stories worth telling. 2 months earlier, Caleb Reyes had come home from his last deployment to bury his Uncle Dale, the man who had raised him after his parents died when he was 9. Dale Reyes had spent 40 years working a modest cattle operation on the outskirts of a town called Alder Creek, on land that had belonged to the Reyes family since 1952, long before anyone had ever heard of a development called Falcon Ridge. Falcon Ridge had gone up 12 years earlier, a gated community of large custom homes built on the old Ferris tract, the land directly adjoining Reyes Ranch. When the developer built it, they needed a way to route utility lines and a maintenance road along the northern boundary. Dale, wanting to be a good neighbor, had signed a limited utility easement, 15 feet wide, along the fence line, for buried electrical conduit only. Nothing more. Dale had kept a copy in his files, along with the original signed agreement, because Dale never trusted anyone to remember the details the way he did. Caleb didn't know any of this history yet. All he knew, standing at the ranch gate 2 weeks after the funeral, was that a woman named Vivian Cross was telling him the entire access road onto his own property, the one his grandfather had graded by hand in 1958, now belonged to the Falcon Ridge Homeowners Association, under what she called the established easement agreement. "I don't understand," Caleb had said the first time she stopped him at the gate. "This road isn't near your utility lines. The easement was expanded in 2019, she told him. "Full access and maintenance rights. It's all on file," he hadn't argued. He'd simply driven around through the old cattle gate on the south fence line and gone on with his week, assuming it was some kind of mistake that paperwork would sort out. It was not a mistake, and it would not sort itself out. What Caleb didn't know was that Vivian Cross had a very specific reason for wanting that road. 3 years earlier, Falcon Ridge's board, under Vivian's leadership, had taken out $1 million loan to build a new clubhouse, pool complex, and private security gate system, expenses far beyond what the association's dues could reasonably support. To secure the loan, the board had pledged association-controlled land as collateral. The problem was simple. Falcon Ridge didn't own enough qualifying land on its own. The 15-foot utility strip wasn't nearly enough acreage to satisfy the bank. So, in 2019, Vivian had quietly filed an amended plat with the county, listing the expanded easement, a corridor that conveniently swallowed the entire Reyes Ranch Road and 11 adjoining acres, as association-controlled land. She had done it while Dale was in and out of the hospital for treatment. banking on the idea that a sick old rancher with no family nearby wouldn't notice, or wouldn't have the strength left to fight it. Dale noticed. He just never told anyone how far he'd taken it, not until Caleb found the lockbox. After the arrest, which ended, like so many of these do, not with formal charges but with 2 hours in a holding cell and a citation, because the responding sergeant wasn't comfortable booking a decorated veteran over a property line dispute, Caleb went home and finally opened his uncle's lockbox. Inside was everything: the original 1952 deed, the 1958 hand-drawn survey, the 2011 utility easement, 15 feet, conduit only, signed by Dale in his own hand, and a manila folder labeled, in Dale's blocky handwriting, "In case." Inside that folder was a certified copy of the 2019 amended plat Vivian had filed, the one claiming the expanded easement, and beside it a letter Dale had written but never sent, addressed to the county recorder's office, explaining that he had never signed, never approved, and never even seen any expansion of that original agreement. Caleb drove into town the next morning and hired the only lawyer in Alder Creek who handled property disputes, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Priya Nair. Priya pulled the county's certified 2011 easement and set it beside the 2019 amended version. The signature on the 2019 filing was Dale's, but Dale, Priya learned from Caleb, had lost most of the feeling in his right hand after a tractor accident in 2015 and had signed everything left-handed for the last 4 years of his life. The 2019 signature slanted the wrong way entirely. It wasn't a gray area. It was forgery. Priya dug further and found something even larger sitting quietly beneath the surface. Falcon Ridge's HOA bylaws required a 2/3 board vote for any change to the association's recorded property holdings. The meeting minutes from 2019 showed no such vote. In fact, they showed no discussion of any easement expansion at all. She also discovered that Falcon Ridge's corporate registration with the state had lapsed for 14 months in 2020, meaning the association had been legally non-existent as a corporate entity, while it continued collecting dues, signing contracts, and critically closing on the $1 million loan. Caleb wanted to go straight to the sheriff. Priya told him to wait. "People like this don't panic when you're loud," she said. "They panic when the paperwork starts talking for you." So instead of confronting Vivian, Caleb quietly hired a licensed surveyor, a retired county employee named Walt Higgins, who had actually worked the original Falcon Ridge development plans decades earlier. Walt walked the disputed boundary personally and confirmed, in a signed and certified report, that the ranch road, the old cattle gate, and nearly 4 acres of grazing land sat entirely inside Reyes family property, nowhere near the 15-foot utility corridor Dale had actually agreed to. Caleb had survey stakes driven along the true boundary. 2 nights later, every stake was gone. He wasn't surprised. He'd installed trail cameras the week before, the same quiet habit that had kept him alive overseas: always assume someone's watching, and always be the one actually watching back. The footage showed 2 Falcon Ridge maintenance workers pulling the stakes at Vivian's direct instruction, caught clearly on infrared, time-stamped, unmistakable. Vivian, sensing the ground shifting, moved first. She called an emergency HOA meeting, invited local media, and stood in front of the packed clubhouse. The very clubhouse partly financed by land she didn't legally control, accusing Caleb of trying to seize community infrastructure for personal gain. She proposed a $3,500 special assessment per household, framed as an emergency legal defense fund against what she called an aggressive land grab by an outsider. Several residents, already frustrated by years of rising dues and a maintenance road that never seemed to get properly repaired, pushed back. Vivian threatened fines against anyone who refused to pay. The room went quiet, the way rooms do when people are afraid to be the next target. Caleb didn't attend that meeting. He was in a courthouse 40 minutes away, watching Priya file a civil suit against Falcon Ridge HOA for fraudulent filing, harassment, wrongful citation, and destruction of legal survey markers. With Walt's certified survey, Dale's genuine easement, the forged 2019 plat, and the trail camera footage all entered as exhibits. 2 weeks later, an anonymous envelope arrived at Caleb's ranch. Inside was a copy of the $1 million loan agreement and a short note. Ask her where the roof money went. The clubhouse roof was never replaced. The sender turned out to be a former HOA treasurer named Marcus Webb, fired 18 months earlier after questioning why nearly $600,000 in capital improvement spending had no matching invoices. Marcus had kept backup copies of the association's financial records before his access was cut off. Those records showed the loan money hadn't gone to a clubhouse roof, a pool resurface, or a security upgrade at all. Over $700,000 had gone to a landscaping company owned by Vivian's brother-in-law. Another $500,000 was buried under vague line items, consulting, administrative services, special projects. With no documentation behind any of it, the hearing was set for a Thursday morning. Vivian arrived confident, in a tailored blazer, flanked by the association's attorney, carrying a binder of citations and photographs labeled unauthorized use of association land. Caleb arrived with Priya, Walt's certified survey, Dale's genuine easement, the forged plat, the trail camera footage, and Marcus Webb, who had agreed to testify. Judge Elena Marsh read through the documents twice in complete silence while the courtroom waited. MS Cross. She finally said, "Can you explain how a 15-foot utility easement became a full-access corridor covering 4 acres without any recorded board vote, using a signature that doesn't match Mr. Reyes' established left-handed signing pattern after 2015? Vivian's attorney tried to answer for her. The judge held up a hand. I asked MS Cross. Vivian said nothing. For the first time in this entire ordeal, she looked less like a woman in control of her room and more like someone finally seeing the walls close in around her. Judge Marsh ruled decisively. The 2019 amended easement was void, the true boundary confirmed by Walt's certified survey, all citations against Caleb dismissed, and the matter of the forged signature referred to the district attorney for criminal review. She also ordered an independent financial audit of the association's books, triggered by the evidence Marcus had provided. The audit confirmed what Marcus already suspected, nearly $3 million, unaccounted for, funneled through relatives and shell arrangements over 3 years. Vivian was removed from the board within the month, facing fraud and forgery charges. Falcon Ridge's remaining board members, most of whom had never known about the forged filing, voted to restore the association's corporate standing, hire an independent management company, and formally apologize to the Reyes family in writing. Caleb never asked for the apology. He only ever wanted the road his grandfather graded by hand. That fall, he opened the old cattle gate for good, cleared the fence line his uncle had watched over for 40 years, and started running cattle again, same as Dale had, same as his grandfather before him. He kept Dale's folder, the one labeled in case, in a drawer in the ranch house kitchen, not out of anger, but because it reminded him of something his uncle used to say, back when Caleb was young and impatient, and didn't understand why Dale kept every scrap of paper he ever signed. Land doesn't lie, Dale used to tell him. People do, that's why you keep the paper. Some nights now, Caleb sits on the porch his grandfather built, looks out at the road nobody can take from him anymore, and understands exactly what his uncle meant. The truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs someone patient enough to let it be read.